All right, awesome. Hello, everyone. Latinos in Clinical Research. We're here today with a very special guest interview, and we wanted to invite all of you to be part of it. So we have Gus Roman with us today. He was born and raised in New Jersey. He's the son of Colombian immigrant parents. And while growing up, he served as an EMT, and that sparked his passion to be in healthcare and clinical research. After pursuing his BSc in chemical engineering, he went to the University of Pennsylvania, and he spent 4 years in the life science space doing a lot of consulting work and projects spanning from business development, market access, commercial strategy across diverse indications, geographies, and healthcare stakeholders. During that time, he also served as chief of staff for Pierre Gooding, and basically it was one gentleman that was running for Harlem City Council, and he was able to fulfill his growing passion for equality and policy. I mean, you name it, Gus has a lot of experience. Just from the educational pursuit, he has a dual degree, a MBA and a MPH, a Master's of Public Health from Yale University. And he also was part of the Yale Healthcare Conference and was a co-chair and spent his free time diving into the world of venture capital and entrepreneurship. I know that's something Dan will probably want to pick your brain on. He does a lot of chats about that. But then after Yale, Gus continued his part-time venture fellow role at Global Founders Capital. And basically on their seed and series A digital health team, while also consulting part-time for a variety of digital health founders. So Gus does not stay in his seat. He's a very busy man and has continued to do many things in relation to virtual clinical trials, digital biomarkers, digital multimuscular cellular care. And currently, he is the chief of staff of AI Therapeutics, where he basically juggles a variety of activities, for anything from fundraising, business development, partnership strategy, budgeting, forecasting, hiring, project management. And what I liked the best of this profile was building a culture. So today, if you guys want to welcome Mr. Gus Roman to Latinos in Clinical Research, and we have a lot to discuss. So thanks, Gus, for being here.
Thank you for your time. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah. I mean, what
really
a diverse
background.
Yeah.
It's super
That was
amazing.
a mouthful, right?
Yeah.
Always takes a long time on the intro call.
No, I mean, I think that's really great. And I mean, I don't know if Dan's thinking it and Monica, but I mean, perfect example of how you can start from a very specialized field and then kind of become a generalist that oversees and manages, right? That's pretty amazing what you're doing. I thought that we did a lot, but no, you do a whole lot for sure. So, I mean, if you can give us a little insight, how did you, obviously initially EMT to now, I mean, what ended up focusing you into digital? I mean, your AI therapeutics and all of that, that's a huge transition. And I'm really curious.
Yeah, I mean, I think the digital transformation in the healthcare is like finally here, as you can see by the increased amount of like VC funding that's gone over and over the past few years. I mean, what I like in particularly like interesting about like digital health is I think like it's very much like a market shaping movement right now. There's all these like new like companies and industries that are arising. Like, for example, I was doing some research on APIs this weekend. And it's just like a front door in order to have like a digital door of sorts to have like stakeholders communicate to like other stakeholders. The most popular one, which is like Stripe, which is in like the financial industry. But now there's all these companies in the healthcare industry that are building similar solutions. Ribbon Health is a popular one I was doing research on, for example. And I think it's just a great opportunity to really market shape it. It's also, healthcare is also unique with all the different like regulatory like guidelines that like often influence business models, headwinds and tailwinds, and different opportunities. And I think very recently there's been a lot of like patient data and like sharing, and also questions about interoperability, where there's new regulations released every year. So it allows you to, it's like, in order to be successful in this field, it's something where you have to like continually like learn and keep up to date. and make sure to attend these different conferences and these different outlets, and making sure that you're plugging into different people and leaders in the industry. So that's a big reason why I have like so many of the opportunities I do right now. Is there's just a lot of cross pollination that can occur in this space. So knowing like a conversation I have with someone, like I typically have like a venture hat I can wear, like a consultant hat I can wear, or just be a friend and be a connector, which that hat I always wear. So yeah, it's just fun being involved in all these things, and yeah, it's definitely like an innovative place to be right now.
Gus, are you still in like a venture capacity? Like, do you still have any activities from like a venture capital aspect?
Yes and no. So I am officially, so as for GFC, I officially I'm still in contact with them and talk to them from time to time, but I don't have like an official like role on that team. I still say yes because I'm actually talking. I've been chatting with a new mentor of mine who was ex VP innovation at a major payer industry, a major payer company, and she's actually considering starting her own VC firm. And we're exploring different ways of doing that, maybe doing like one-time investments versus doing more traditional VC fund. But so we're not actively deploying capital, but we are brainstorming about like potential business models and how the execution of this would look like. And then I also do keep in touch with a lot of like my VC friends still. So if I see like a deal that I think is interesting, like I have people I can like reach out to. So I'm definitely still involved in this space, just not like in an official capacity.
Now,
Awesome.
what do you think the biggest growth area is in biotech space? I mean, I know you're in the AI therapeutics, but what, like, as far as maybe therapeutic indications that you've seen, what do you think is like where a lot of the investment is going, or where do you see the biggest need being outside of data and AI?
Yeah, so my company, AI Therapeutics, is focused on like rare diseases. And I think there's always going to be money need in that space. And also, there's a lot of other like digital health players like Allstripe, Citizen, and Picnic Health, which are also revolutionizing the space because a lot of this data exists in all these different silos, and like the stakeholders who are making it their day job to collect that data on behalf of the patients and using it to bring value there. In addition to like orphan diseases, like oncology has always been an area where there's a lot of innovation. I think where the real excitement right now is more on like curative treatments, so like gene therapies, and these other like new modalities of care using like next generation like technologies. I mean, vaccines is obviously an area of like hot debate right now because of COVID-19, and like I'm personally of the belief that it will probably be similar to the flu, where every year you might need to get a new vaccine for like the new strain that is popular that year. I don't necessarily have faith that we're going to be able to reach herd immunity in the U.S., especially with how heterogeneous our population.
Yeah.
And I think the other hot area too is the area I work in is like AI driven like biotech models, like Recursion. The IPO is not worth at 5 billion is like I think the most popular player in the space. There's also like Verge Genomics, but with all this new data out there, you would like logically think that you'd be able to better like design drugs that hit these targets and effectively. And like so I guess like one of the answers to your question, it's not necessarily like the indication. I don't think specific indications are or not. It's like I think these like new approaches, either from a more like biotech, like gene editing approach, or
Yeah.
AI driven computational methods.
More of the long tail. The long tail. I've been telling people on my channel and in Latinos in Clinical Research, if you guys sign up, make sure you go sign up on the website, latinosinclinicalresearch.com, in case you haven't, because way too few people are subscribed to that thing. You're missing out. But that's another story. All the opportunities right now are in the long tail. And we're able, because of data and AI and CRISPR and gene therapy and all this stuff, and the microbiome. I mean, I'm here monitoring for a microbiome company right now. I mean, small is the new big. So you started out as an intern with one of the big pharma, and now you've worked your way into the long tail. Where do you see the next decade of biotech? Is it pretty much just what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's gonna continually be advancements in all these different areas. Um, like when, for example, like AI driven like drug development, like there's a lot of different like approaches you can take there. Like what my company does right now is we take drugs that have already shown clinical safety and match them against new indications using artificial intelligence and pushing them forward in a different indication. I think that's significantly a de-risked method of bringing these drugs to patients and also much faster. My company is also building out the capabilities for like new chemical entity discovery, so that way we'll own the asset from start to finish. I think there's a lot of other companies out there that are focused on like developing new biologics, and I think as we better understand like phenotypes and phenotypes of different patients, that is an area that makes sense to me. I think, I guess to answer your question a little more directly, I think like the trend towards personalized medicine is one we're going to see to continue to grow, and also like the recognition that like a disease is more than what we define as disease is often like a collection of diseases. It's just like phenotypic representation of like those like symptoms the patient is expressing, and we're seeing this right now in oncology where there's more and more like targeted therapies that are specific to a certain patient's like type. Like I, in fact, like hate how we call cancer cancer because people are always like, "Oh, I don't have the cure for cancer yet," and the answer is because it's just not one disease. It's just so many different types of cancers. Within those cancers, there's subtypes of that too. So I think that's where really the trends are. It's like additionally like personalized medicine, as you said, like gene editing, CRISPR, targeted therapies. I also count as that too. And yeah, and then the new methods of discovering those drugs, and again, using like the biotechnology or the computational methods. But I'm sure you'll see more areas where people will combine those methods as well.
Awesome. And so sorry to interrupt you guys, but you're going out a little bit in your microphone. So I guess something that I think that our listeners would want to know, and I know because I actually a few of them were my clients. I know that they're interested in AI, biotech, and all of that. So given your background, how you were in clinical, you were at EMT. How long would you say did it take you from then to get to where you're at now?
From EMT to like working in biotech.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so I did like healthcare consulting out of undergraduate at a few different firms. And I think that provides a very like flexible background in order for you to recruit to other positions.
Mm-hmm.
I also did like an internship at Pfizer on the strategy and consulting team as well. So I think those two experiences in particular really like allowed me to work in the biotech industry. I will also say,
how did you get that internship? I mean, a lot of people are going to be watching and they're going to say, wow, I want to go intern for Pfizer.
Yeah.
I mean, how practical is that for someone?
So I did a structured like internship as part of like my MBA program. And I will have to say that Pfizer does a lot of its recruiting through like these more structured programs.
Let's see.
There are other ways of working in big pharma without doing this internship. And I honestly, if you don't have that MBA or whatever degree, like honestly, you need to network. These organizations are like so huge, and like applying through like the portal will get you like absolutely nowhere. But, like
Yeah.
if you strike up a conversation with someone through a friend of a friend, and have that lead on to more conversations. There's so many roles in pharma out there. My role was very, very like MBA, like strategy and consulting. It was a lot of like internal strategic initiatives. Like I worked on an affordability and access project for emerging markets, which really matched my areas and also matched my interest in public health. But other people on my team worked on like oncology, or I had one person working AI and biotech. But yeah, there's there's commercial, marketing, finance.
Networking is what I mean. Just like all the opportunities are in the long tail, all the networking opportunities are in the one-on-one interactions. People want like magic to happen when they apply on the company website. And like you said, it's going to basically get you nowhere. Same thing with spamming everyone's inbox on LinkedIn. But when you drop a comment on Gus's LinkedIn post, and I just connected with Gus right now, everybody can do that. We're going to have Gus's LinkedIn profile underneath this video. Gus, you're going to be hit up by a lot of people. Hey man, I want to intern at Braintree, all this kind of stuff. So this is how you do it, one-on-one, guys, just like Gus did. I mean, Gus did it through an MBA program, but networking is going to get you there as well.
And that's kind of why I wanted to
keep on
focus.
repeating.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of why I wanted to focus on the time frame, because I mean, for me, I think you look very young to be doing everything that you're doing. It's very inspiring, and I think a lot of that definitely obviously has to do, like you said, your networking. Networking can get you to so many places, right? Especially if you utilize the resources that are out there that are free or that are, at arm's reach, right? So long as you're doing what you can to get access to that and to the people that are involved. So thank you for mentioning that, because I don't think a lot of people understand how much networking and where it can actually take you in like a small time span. So yeah,
I am glad that Gus mentioned that, because usually it's us saying it and people sometimes say, oh, well, you guys keep on repeating it and you're from Latinos in clinical research. So now that somebody externally saying it, it just sounds even more appealing, right?
Yes.
Thank you for saying that, because definitely networking is the key in here. And that's why we invite people to participate also in our webinars, because they get the chance to network with a lot of professionals from around the world, not just United States, but everywhere.
Yes. So Gus, I wanted to ask, how, as far as, in the area that you're in, how would you say in regards to, I guess, the Latino our population, like, is there heavy diversity within the area that you're working in the field?
I would say there's definitely room for improvement, but it's not like a homogeneous field.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we actually do have another Hispanic on my team. He's a research scientist, Carlo. I think one of the things about biotech, which especially startup biotech, like the one I work on right now, is that like everyone is very, very degreed. So like my team has like 4 PhDs, 2 MDs, 2 MBAs. We don't have anyone that's not an advanced degree on my team, and we're an 8-person team, so it's very small. So I think the gap in diversity, like from my perspective, might be more from the requirement that people need this like advanced degree. And if you look at statistics of people who have advanced degrees, there tend to be more like Caucasian people who have been in the country for like certain generations.
Of course.
I mean, I had to take like an immense amount of debt for graduate school, and I completely think it was worth it. But I definitely understand why other people like would feel uncomfortable making that same decision.
Yes,
So
for sure.
definitely room for improvement, but it is something we do focus on in our company. We do make efforts to have more diversity and inclusion type of hires. It's just difficult when the pool is so small.
No, for sure, for sure. So definitely, if there are those individuals who obviously don't have like the ability or the capability to get that extra teaching, I mean, just getting more certified, becoming well diverse with more specifics is super helpful. So thank you for letting us know that. I did want to ask, as far as where you're currently at, how is it integrating with clinical research right now, and like the future of clinical research for AI therapeutics?
So I mean, we have like 2 ongoing clinical trials, one in the COVID-19 space and one in the ALS space, like Lou Gehrig's disease. So it's more of the traditional, like for the COVID-19 trial, we're using like Yale as a CRO, and for ALS trial, we're using like one of the major players. So it's definitely more of a traditional like clinical research model. We have chatted, I mean, we have worked with like other innovative players in like the clinical trial space. Like for example, we did some work with Clara Health, which is like a patient recruitment platform, because they like saw the pain point of like getting a patient to a clinical trial, whether that's logistically or like physically, like the extra back and forth with consent. We saw that being a pain point, so we like use those services. We actually partnered with a new digital health player who they just raised a $3 million Series A from Bain, called Exilius, and we're also helping them out. They're building out like a financial like CRO relationship like management type of solution. Also will help with like accruals and other pain points within like the clinical trial like value chain. So I think that is it's more of like those other pieces of the value chain that aren't done most effectively by the traditional CRO model that we're trying to improve upon. We have explored the idea of doing like virtual clinical trials. And like, I know not this year, but next year we're planning on starting clinical trials in like orphan diseases. And they, these are diseases of less than 200K patients in the US. And like, it could be interesting, like using a virtual trial model there if we're not able to, have sites like nationwide. There's a way to like do clinical trials in the comfort of like a patient's own home. So I think that could be a really interesting area too. And I think the virtual trial space is another area that's like extremely interesting. You're seeing companies like Medable and this new company Florence just raise like monster rounds. And it makes a lot of sense, right? It's like, I think the clinical trials model is a bit outdated. A lot of these assessments, like you can do in the home already, you just need like validating measures. And a lot of it's also like regulatory, like slowness to adopt these new types of models. But I think there's like definitely an opportunity to, lower the cost of clinical trials and also sure that these drugs reach patients like a much more like effective speed, because a lot of the delays that happen are like not due to patients or drugs, it's just due to outdated processes or like meetings that take too long to happen. Make things more efficient in that way.
Yeah, I agree. And for me personally, I really think that, and that's again why I was super interested in getting you on here to interview you. I personally am a huge believer that data and just AI in general is going to really have a huge impact on how we move forward in this industry and really advance us. Because I do see, I mean, coming from a global CRO, I do kind of see how there can be a lot of I guess to say not boundaries, but barriers that kind of get in the way due to the processes and stuff like that. So I look forward to seeing that, improvement as time passes. But I don't know, Monica, did you have any questions?
No, I think he explained it all.
Yeah, it's super, super great. Honestly, it's thank you so much for coming on, Gus, and to speaking with us. I would love, of course, for you to possibly come on and speak to one of our monthly webinars where we're live with people from all over the world, throughout the US and more specifically South America, CRO site owners, CRO owners, all of that. Just because I do think that what you're doing right now is definitely on the precipice of with the trend of what's happening and what's, where science and technology is taking us. And I think everybody needs to become knowledgeable of where it's going and the possibilities, right? And be open to how we can improve our industry. But thank you so much, and thank you so much, Cassandra, for
Thank you.
Yes, for letting us know about Gus and everything that he's doing. And we look forward to speaking with you again in the future, Gus, if you don't mind.
Yeah, definitely. Always happy to be helpful.
No, it's awesome.
Awesome.
And before we go, I think it'd be awesome for you to share with everyone that's watching why you decided to be, get involved with Latinos in clinical research and why you think it's important to share
Yes,
as
please.
a Latino in the space.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to give back. I mean, as a Latino growing up in America, and something I realized during my undergraduate experience is that I just like didn't know what was out there. Like in high school, I think when you're like into like science and math, which I was, like it was like, oh, like I must be like a doctor or like a researcher, and I didn't know what the clinical trials industry was. Like I didn't know what, like I knew what pharma was, but like I didn't know there was like other jobs out there. So it's the opportunity to like, help educate and inform people who may not have, parents that grew up here and like worked here, and like have like guidance counselors that like um, are able to like one-on-one help out particular students. And yeah, that's mainly it. Like always love to give back to the different communities that supported me as I was growing up, part of the virtuous cycle.
No, that's awesome. And what would be one tip that you would give someone, either someone that's starting new in the industry or someone that is in high school or college seeing this? Do you have any tips or any tricks that you would say, hey, this is one thing I wish someone would have told me going through school?
I think nowadays, especially in the COVID era, like you should not apply to any job without talking to someone at that company, no matter how big or small the company is. I know during like undergrad, I applied to, like over 100 jobs and then get like one, and like that's just like straight applying. I think it's almost necessary nowadays. So, um, yeah, always make a connection. Like in business school, I applied to like less than 20 jobs and got like a few of them. That was a lot easier. And I guess like, even for the younger students, I think most people are like very happy to talk about what they're passionate about. So I think you should like not be afraid to reach out. Like I've had many successful like cold outreach for networking where like, especially like, scientists or most business professionals in general, like they're more than happy to talk about, what makes them passionate about their day to day. And like, as long as you frame it that way and, don't always go into a conversation like an intent, even with a job or a company, like I think people much appreciate just reaching out in order to like learn about them and what they're working on. And another recommendation I have too is like at the end of any networking call, like you should always ask like, oh, like how can I be helpful? Because a lot of times like people just need help on random things and like they, aren't upfront about it. And that's how I got like most of like my part-time like side hustles. Like I just asked people if I could be helpful at all. Oftentimes I was interested in it. And, a lot of the times I started out doing the work for free as well. And that just like opened up a lot more opportunities down the line that, I wouldn't have known like going into the conversation. And I, fully didn't have expectations about it. Just trying to be helpful and just be like a good colleague and friend.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree
Thank
100%.
you.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that. You gotta, we're so busy sometimes when we're wanting something so bad, we're trying to take all the time, right? And it's more about giving, and because ultimately, if you give well enough, right, it'll come back to you tenfold. At least that's what I believe. So thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for that. Thanks, Cassandra. I totally forgot to ask. But awesome. Thank you so much, guys. We really appreciate it. Was there anything else, ladies, that you guys wanted to ask before we end this conversation? Good.
Just want to say
Awesome.
thank you. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank
Yes,
you.
most definitely. We'll be in contact for sure. Thank you so much.
No, happy to chat.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Yes.
Adios.
Adios.
Ciao.
Okay, so we can cut the
Tres
recording.
Colombianos. Three Colombians in this
I
phone
know.
call.
Oh, so we
Something's
can.
gonna happen. Something's gonna happen.
So we can like stop the recording, and then if you're able to, Gus, if you could send that to us, and then Dan